Welcome back to the Astronaut of Nature.
Thank you so much for returning here, and thank you so much for, getting used to the kind of information that I am exposing in this time that we spend together. My accent, etc. I really hope that by now you do understand what I consider to be the main subjects, the core of where I'm heading to, which is not easy to define in, just a few words. And we don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. So we're just gonna take whatever ideas or whatever it is that is needed to express this, which I think is important. That will be the thing that I will constantly keep reaffirming. The importance of this is a label that the mind will examine and will compare to those points that I am referring to sometimes here, like the basic way of learning and all that, and will determine if it is all that important for you. So I'm sort of like driving this very strange road with you, and I am doing it in a way that you can have a space where you can actually decide consciously and unconsciously if the information that you are listening to is good or not, just filtering as you notice that you can or cannot pay attention to it. And eventually whatever has to stick will do that, will become part of your experience with that interaction, and whatever is not needed will just, vanish, or it'd be like a background thing, but not much more. So everything is sort of practical, and that's the key. I'm talking about practicality and how can we use that filter to make everything go through it, even the concept of practicality in itself. So yes, I have been repeating certain words and bringing examples and whatever, and those are the things that right now will help to move to the next step, because that's the subject. At this point of this experience, the subject of repetition is one of the most important things. It has to be something that comes out of that. This particular moment doesn't have to only feel like something that is bringing you a feeling of like, oh, I should have known that. You can hear something, you can listen to something because you can, because it's easy, because it's automatic, because if you do have the possibility of having the hearing in a perfect condition or a regular condition that you can consider that to be working, the phenomenon of listening to something is automatic. You're not really making an effort for that. You don't even make an effort to make an effort. You know what to do, and then you call it an effort. Yes, it will get that weird sometimes. If you have to make use of an adjective that you cannot ever take away from a particular thing, I think tool is one that can actually be associated to pretty much everything. In the case that we need to know what is the functionality of life. So, what is the point of all this blah blah blah? I've been wondering myself. Don't you worry about it. I believe that sometimes we have just a way to normalize certain things, and maybe not being able to evolve in those particular ways, or to do not move those subjects to wherever they feel a little bit more resolved. There are certain situations or storylines that are never resolved. In a way, they are already over. We are over those things. But they always feel like they have to be considered in the first place, like the main subject of something that we already know is there. However, the feeling does not match the experience in that case. So what to do? I've been understanding that the mind is a system, a computer that has a program. Of course, not one. It can actually create new ones and all that, but it does have a style in the way it moves, in the way it produces certain things, and we tend to leave certain aspects of the functionality. We tend to leave certain aspects unattended, or we just don't pay attention to the fact that, for example, there are a list of feelings that are way too overwhelming and extremely demanding, way more than we could justify in the intention that we have or the impulse that we prefer to describe the idea of how we move through life, right? Something like that. We'll add more to that. For example, being in love, out of love, falling in love, or grief, when you feel sad for somebody who has passed and you feel out of place and all that. There are certain aspects of those feelings that are important, but then you have the length. Some of that is just too fucking long to deal with. I came across the idea of placing somebody in front of a switch, on and off. If you could have access to that in that particular thing that is bothering you right now, call it sadness, call it whatever you want. I don't even need to ask you if you could have already pressed that switch before my explanation is over. That switch is off a long time ago. Because sometimes the length of that feeling is too fucking much. And it's not something that feels like it is a choice. And why is that? Why something has to go so deep in such a personal way? When first of all, it's not new, it's not original, we didn't create that, and if it is so personal, it shouldn't be something that we also have access to the length, to how much it lasts. Because when you get an important message in your phone, for example, you get it, okay? When you get all the clear part of the message, all the words, maybe you're just gonna double check once, but if it's something that generates urgency, you will take the next step immediately. There is no need to repeat that shit. And that's what it feels like when something is returning and returning. You have a pain, like a chronic pain. Literally, something in your body telling something else in your body, hey, this needs to be fixed. Okay, we got it. All right, once. And sometimes we go through those things, like when we discover the qualities of fire. We know what that thing is. Accidents might happen, but consciously, if you're not into that, per se, you will not put your hand in the fire just because you know what's the result of that. So you have a form of agency through experience and knowledge, and that's the case with pretty much everything else. Then why some things are so freaking long? Well, that's what we're gonna try to clean up a little bit here. And I'm gonna need your consideration of a subject in order for that to happen. Alright, we'll take a little break here, and we'll be back with more of this rant about whatever the heck I'm talking about. Thank you for being there. We'll be back. What's gonna happen in the next episodes is gonna be something that I've been promising for a while. First of all, mea culpa. Fuck that, I don't do mea culpa. But I did say that this will not last more than 30 minutes, maximum. And I also said that this will last 30 minutes. And I didn't accomplish any of that. I went over 30 minutes sometimes, and I went way under. And also, I promised the interaction with somebody else. And I didn't feel like doing that at a point, so I didn't do it. And that's really the way this works. The only difference here is that I'm exposing the cooking of this food, of this meal. A portion of it. Of course, we never do expose the whole thing. But a portion of it, you kind of get the sense of what's going on here. For those ones that know me and they're wondering, how is this character so alive and so eloquent or whatever? I'm here, I'm fine, and I am ready to challenge everything just because I don't personalize anything that comes from my inner being. Because I don't know what that thing is. Neither do you. So here we are, here we go, and hopefully all the things that I promised before will come to fruition at a point. Thank you again for being here.